Welcome to the Crew Network's Career Zone, designed to give you a realistic, first-hand look at what it takes to be successful in commercial real estate as a financial person. My name is Laura Walker. I'm a member of Crew New York Crew, that is, Senior Vice President of Citibank. I have been a National Award winner, 8-time recipient of Citibank Circle of Excellence Awards in 2 different divisions. That being said, we're here to talk to the 3 lovely panelists today and hear what they have to say about a career in finance. Who wants to start?
I'm Karen Schultz from Crew Houston, and I've been a member of Crew Network since 1993 and past president of a chapter and current past chair of the foundation for Crew. I'm in the appraisal and valuation and consulting industry and look forward to talking today.
Hi, I'm Nicole Pakoulis. I've been a Crew member here in Chicago for 17 years. I'm also on the board, and I have chaired a number of our charities, and I also chair the sponsorship committee. I work for Cornerstone Real Estate Advisors, which is wholly owned by Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company, so I'm a portfolio lender. I lend on commercial real estate, and I am also looking forward to speaking with you today.
My name is Holly Wathen, and I'm a Chicago Crew member. I've been in Crew for about 3 years in Chicago. I'm an Associate Regional Director for PPM Finance. PPM Finance is an asset manager for Jackson National Life Insurance Company. For PPM Finance, I work to originate whole loan investments for the general account.
Okay, so now we're going to get started on what a typical day is like. Right? So to all of you out there, you're going to hear it firsthand from the people that do it every day. So who wants to take the first?
Currently, I am in the financial analysis valuation world, and so what my day entails is we're sort of in a niche market of the appraisal world, and that's forensic valuation. And what that means is a lot of litigation support, valuing properties for the eminent domain, bankruptcy issues, partnership issues, any sort of court case, litigious matter that usually comes our way. So no day is the same.
Sounds interesting.
No project is the same. But we do a lot of research, a lot of background research on what we do. It goes also to extending to writing reports, analyzing financial data that comes in on from properties and from other commercial assets, and on the phone a lot, communicating with the brokerage and the banking industry so that we can give support for the valuation conclusions that we have.
I can go next. Nicole Pakoulis. As I mentioned, I'm a portfolio lender with Cornerstone Real Estate Advisors, which is wholly owned by Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. And we have been lending on commercial real estate for over 150 years, so we're quite well known out in the industry. I would say a typical day, given that anywhere from 70 to 80% of our deals come in through the brokerage community, would be really speaking with the brokerage community as well as some direct borrowers, but it's also reviewing deals. A slow week could entail 5 to 10 deals that I review, and it could be as much as 20 plus on a given week. And at that point, I'm reviewing these packages to see, do I like the deal? Am I comfortable with the borrower? And then how do the economics look? I also have an analyst who I work with who assists in some underwriting, as I am in charge of getting out there, pounding the pavement, and also finding new deals and making sure that I'm building relationships, and particularly with my other crew members, to see if there are deals that we can work on together, because I've found that it's been very beneficial to work with other crew members, and that network has really been invaluable. So a lot of phone, out of the office, in the office, underwriting, and then certainly when I get a deal, it's about closing it and dealing with the various departments in my company, appraisal, research, as well as coordinating third parties, outside legal counsel to close the deal.
And how long does it take to usually close a deal? Is there an average or what?
Usually what we like to say is around 60 days to close after you finalize negotiating an application. That's pretty typical. Certainly if a borrower is in a hurry, they can pay a little extra to expedite third-party reports, and we will expedite internally to get through the committees so that we can meet their target closing date.
Hi, Holly Wathen, and in terms of a typical day, I would say most days aren't typical. There's a lot of variety in the activities of what I do in terms of originating mortgage investments. The loan submissions or deals will come in from the mortgage brokerage community, and I'll maybe look at, as Nicole mentioned, maybe 5 or 10 deals a week on a slow week, and then on a busy week you could look at maybe 15 to 20, it depends where you are in the cycle. And in terms of reviewing a deal, and there are a lot of things that come into play. You will look at the real estate itself, the kind of the sticks and bricks, the fundamentals of the building. More importantly, probably, is the location of the property, and really kind of picking apart what makes that property successful and a sound investment. And then in terms of, say, an office or retail property, you'll be looking at the credit of a tenant to evaluate whether that tenant's going to be in place for a long term. And if that tenant is not in place, you also will need to go out into the market and look at various market reports. Most sizable markets will maybe have 4 or 5 sources of market data, and that market data will give you rents, vacancies, and you kind of need to sort through that to evaluate your property against the market. And then I guess finally one of the other elements that you get to evaluate is the borrower. And you know, who is that borrower? Have they had difficulties in the past? If they have, how have they handled their difficulties? And then also you certainly reviewing a borrower's success is important as well. So in a typical day, I guess you're kind of involved in any one of those activities, and then once you get past all those things, you can then you quote a deal if you want to pursue that transaction, and then you can move to a loan application. You'll negotiate that, which is various legal terms that you have to negotiate with the borrower. And once that's done, you take it to a credit committee and then move through to closing. So not too many typical days, a lot of variety and activity. And I really enjoy the variety that a career in commercial real estate finance provides.
The beauty of it is every deal is different, it's constantly changing, and because I had been an asset manager before, which is a phenomenal profession, but I'm a little bit more of a deal junkie, which I'm sure Holly is too.
Yes.
And so with that, it keeps everything constantly moving and around and go, go, go. And I found that quite rewarding.
Yeah. As a lender, you're not just necessarily focusing on one type of particular real estate either. You could evaluate office, you could evaluate retail, you could evaluate multifamily, hospitality lending as well. And so it's just a lot of variety. I entered the business coming up through the property management side, and I think that is a great place to learn the business. It's a great place to learn about real estate, how buildings are put together and what makes them work. Property management is also a lot of problem solving, and I think that kind of lent itself to, once you've solved a lot of problems, maybe the same problem 50 or 100 times, maybe you want to move on to something different. And I think the finance is an avenue where you can really employ the knowledge that you learn from the property or asset management side to, you know, a new, I guess, a new career or a new business.
Right, but you're drawing on that experience you've had in multiple sections, right? You're yourself
Absolutely.
as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's a great point, what they've made, because I too also, I find this interesting, came from the property and asset management side of the industry. And so in the world of appraising, you know, having all of those knowledges of leases, understanding the leases, understanding how a building is put together, and, you know, where the hidden closets are, if you will, in a building or in the
And the landmines.
in the lease language and so forth is so critical. So
I actually have been a property manager myself for over a quarter of a century, but I don't want to scare you guys out there in the video world. Now, what would you say is the most challenging aspect about what you do every day? Is there top 3 things that you say, well, I wish I would have known this sitting out there 20 years ago or 25 years ago?
In terms of challenging today from reflecting from if I would have done this 20 years ago, one thing that I always like to tell young people, young women in particular, that I've mentored a few through my career, is that I always wish that I had started out as an analyst in like a brokerage house, like a HFF, Eastdil, Northmark, one of those, Jones Lang LaSalle, one of those big investment houses that do place financing, do sales of assets, because I find that you are underwriting billions of dollars worth of property every year, and as we had mentioned, everyone is different. And so it really gets you introduced to some possible bumps, how to, you know, move around those, and really understanding the numbers and the fundamentals behind that. Because it's a very difficult job doing that, because you're usually there very late. Certainly knowing Argus is key, which is a financial underwriting program. But I always wish I had started in that. That said, I certainly don't regret having started out similar to these women here in property management, leasing, and then going on to asset management, and then dispositions, and then moving into the real estate finance world. So it was a great background having all of that sort of as a platform. But sometimes I feel like if I would have known then. But I also believe that a lot of the women that I know that are similar in age or experience in real estate, most of us back then more so fell into real estate as opposed to chose it as a career, which a lot of the young women are doing today, which is phenomenal, because we want to, you know, continue to have the wonderful talent of women in the commercial real estate.
Right, that's what the power of Crew is, right? Those connections. And to those watching it, I think the 4 of us, right, to speak as a group, can't underestimate the value of Crew and what it can do for you, not only today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and in your career. Not only in the mentorship, but the opportunities to meet with leaders in the profession and to run things by them. So that being said, well, you have Holly, a comment?
I just say I don't really have any, I guess, significant regrets. I think probably the one thing that I would have wished I would have paid more attention to years ago is maybe some of the more intense finance classes. I approached the business. I had a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, and I had a heavy focus on market research and statistics, but didn't necessarily branch out into the economics and finance maybe as much as I wish I would have now. But it's kind of a small regret. It's I mean, the broad base of knowledge that you need to work in our industry, in the commercial real estate finance industry. You need the economics and finance, but you need so many other skills that I don't know that if you don't come out of college with a finance and economics degree, I don't think that means the commercial real estate field is off limits to you. I think that just means that you may have to try a little harder to work on the finance and the economics and understand some of the long-term concepts.
Right. And one of the key things too, right, besides the financial and that book experience, is getting out there and networking with everybody you know every day. Does your dentist know what you want to do for a living? Does your doctor? Does the person who fills gas in your tank or that you buy your latte from, do they know what you want to do? Because all those people have contacts that can help you, but you have to get out there and you have to let them know what you want to do, and have them help you get there. And Crew is one of the key institutions that can help you there. So don't underestimate the power of the network in every aspect of your life. I challenge you, I'm sure we all do, to do that.
Well, to that end, it's how I've gotten several of my jobs, was through my Crew connections. And, you know, when you talk about relocating to a different city, Crew Network becomes a key component of introducing you to the players in that new market. And so that's been very helpful to me when I relocated from Cleveland to Houston.
Right.
And that's a big theme, too, that no matter, I mean, in the 17 years I've been a Crew member, whether I was a broker, commercial mortgage broker, now property managed asset management, whenever I picked up the phone and I called any Crew member, you always get a call back. It's very accommodating. I mean, it's always been very invaluable. You need an expert in another city, I just look right on the Crew Network directory and boom, give them a call. And it's very, I find that this particular organization is so open in trying to get each woman as successful as the other.
Right, I've had a similar experience too.
Yeah. In terms of networking, I would say that the three professional jobs I had out of college, two of the three positions I had, you know, I obtained really just through networking and you know, just talking to somebody saying, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want to do, what are your thoughts? And they knew of opportunities that that really fit my interest, and they made a phone call, to kind of, I guess, be a segue to me, into various organizations. And so I guess the power of the network, be it Crew, be it just, business associates, it's invaluable. And it's really something that you should maintain.
So as far as your businesses, are they, and I work at Citi, so I have access to international, do a lot of domestic transactions, however, more and more engaged in some of the international opportunities. That being said, would you would say your businesses are pretty much domestic and international, or are you seeing a change in your business as far as the locations and what the hot markets are?
For me personally, we're a boutique niche firm that's located in Houston, and so most of our workload comes from the Southeast Texas region. But with that being said, some of the product types that we do valuation and consulting for, such as pipelines, billboards, and salt domes, which are not the cones on the side of the road in winter that store the salt. They're underground storage caverns for typically natural gas and other chemicals. But those are the product types that are very unique, and not everybody values those. So we've obtained projects for the Justice Department, for GSA, for oil and gas industries across the country, and for billboard operators across the country. So,
Great.
What we do takes us outside of our region quite often.
At Cornerstone, we place debt for, as I mentioned, the general account at MassMutual, and we also buy with equity properties for MassMutual as well as other private clients. Typically, we have always focused domestically in our lending and acquisition platform. That said, we have acquired some other companies and folded them into Cornerstone, London, Amsterdam, Hong Kong. We just opened an office in Tokyo, and we've just started lending in London. We're just kind of putting our feelers out. We've closed a couple of deals, and so the platform is growing. Domestically, we've been doing it so long, as I had mentioned, that we are now broken out into different regions: Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, which is where I'm at, and then the West Coast, and also Texas.
Terrific.
In terms of geography, PPM Finance, we really focus on mortgages in the domestic, the continental U.S., not internationally. And I guess in terms of geography that I specifically cover, I cover Houston, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and then also Northern California, at Omaha. And some in Des Moines as well. So really kind of across the country. During this last economic cycle, it has been interesting to watch the cycles occur in various different geographies. In Houston and in Texas, certainly, you could see that economically it was much less damaged through the last economic cycle. Whereas if you look at Northern California, some of the smaller towns there really are struggling. So it's, from a geographic standpoint, it's interesting to get out in various markets to look at the variety.
Right, well, it keeps it interesting, right?
That's right.
I have one suggestion, because this video may have students and young women watching it who maybe hadn't thought about finance as a career. And I think what we've heard today from everybody is that the core underlying key element of real estate is you have to understand the financial economics of the deal. So that goes across, I think, in my opinion, all professions. Whether you're a broker on the deal, whether you're the lender on the deal, you've got to understand that there's key economic and financial elements to the deal. So it would be like trying to be a writer and not know the alphabet. I mean, you've got to understand the key financial elements of a deal. So whether you're looking forward to the finance end of the business as a long term or not, I would urge the students to take that one class that maybe they didn't think, finance was the way to go.
Right.
Because you never know where your career is going to take you, and you really have to have the fundamental understanding of it's all about the bottom line, the NOI, the IRR, and you got to know that.
That's true. At the end of the day, it's always about the cash, right?
Yeah, the greenbacks.
And on another note related to that, don't be afraid to ask for the money, ladies. Go out there and know what you're worth and continue to strive to be worth more. Don't be afraid to ask. I have a story that I won't share at this video, but it's exactly what happened in my career. I was offered, all right, I'll go into it. I was offered a position as a known performer nationally in my division over a multitude of years. And I had a gentleman call me and offer me a position. And I said to him, it wasn't anywhere near what I was currently making in the division that I was in, because it was base salary and all this commission, which was twice what my base salary was my commission based on my sales production. And the offer, was not at all anywhere near what I was making. It was like a third of it. And I said, very politely, I said, I'm a known performer. You're contacting me, and this is the offer. And he said, yes. And I said, well, thank you very much. I'm really not on sale at this point. Come back with some other money. You know I'm a known performer. And I hung up the phone. So then he came back, and he offered me more money.
There you go.
So I would challenge you, know what you're worth out there.
Yes.
Yes, and that echoes true for my position as well. I mean, I'm sure Holly could agree. There, being a portfolio life company lender, there aren't a ton of us. Usually when you get the job, you retire in the job, because they're really very nice jobs and opportunities or careers to have. And when I was interviewing and they offered me the salary and bonus and all that kind of stuff, I thought, oh, that's not even close either. So I politely declined. And later on, obviously we negotiated and I did get more since I'm there, but my boss had told me, I gained so much respect from you for declining and asking more. He said, at that point, I knew you were a negotiator I wanted on my team. So it's actually better. Never take the first offer. You always have to counter, because you don't know what's on the table and you won't get it unless you ask. So that's extremely important, because there are elements, and I know our white paper that Crew Network puts together talks a little bit about that sometimes we're our own worst enemy when it comes to disparity in pay between men and women. And we need, because we have the power to, make sure that element is not an element anymore.
And knowing what your skills are worth. And where do you want to go? How do you get in there? What skills do you need, right? Like Karen said, it's all about, okay, the NOI and everything else. right? So that's the foundation. So there's your foundation. Where are you going? How are you getting there? How are you building your building, your pyramid? Crew is one of the components in that pyramid, right? I mean, obviously you have education and networking, all those different pieces of the recipe, if you will, right? But knowing what you're worth is always the key, right? So mentor with the people that you want to aspire to be. How else, if you can get access to them, which you can through Crew, we all know that, right? It's very clear. So don't forget to leverage the network. But when you contact us, please do your homework first. I think all of us are very busy from a standpoint of, oh, you work at Citibank, you work at Cornerstone, right? All the different companies. At least know what our companies do when you contact us, because it'll show to us that you're committed to your future. You know?
I think you make a really good point there. And I had been doing a number of interviewing over the summer for interns. And I was just amazed by who came to the interview and sort of what their attitude, what their approach was, in that the number of them that did not do any research, didn't really know what we did. And then when I posed the question to them, you know, what value can you bring to us? They weren't able to answer that. And
So that is what you do not want to do.
no, you do not want to do that. The needless to say that that young gentleman did not get the position. But you know, sometimes we've all got to cut our teeth when we start out in this business.
Right.
But cutting your teeth in a very strategic and methodical way will get you to where you want to go. It'll get you to that goal, that 5-year, that 10-year goal of yours. But you do have to be prepared. You do have to be willing to pay some dues. I would encourage you that the key elements that I have found is you got to be a team player. You have to be willing to be a team player. Sometimes, you know, when deals come down and deadlines come down, it's all hands on deck. And we know that everybody's looking for this balance in life. But when you're starting out and you're cutting your teeth, you've got to be willing to put in that extra time and that extra effort. So those would be some of my recommendations.
And I'd like to echo a little bit of that, in that, for instance, if you do have this interview, and if he or she had read up on your company on the website, come in for the interview, it doesn't mean we're expecting you to be an expert on the company. You can still ask questions. You can, you know, even an appraisal or lending. Well, how do you do this? How do you do that? I mean, when I hear people asking me questions like that in an interview, that's the eagerness I want to see. And, you know, sometimes I've in the past asked a question in an interview, well, if we're all, you know, running around working and, you know, I send you out to go get sandwiches for everybody, are you going to have a problem with that? Well, the answer is absolutely not. It's not. And that rarely, if ever, happens. But the point of it is, it's that teamwork that you're talking about, that we're all pitching in. We're all trying to make the end goal. Don't think, oh, well, it's 5 o'clock, I've got to go. And I will say that it's pretty much a common theme amongst all of us. In our 20s, we were not working 40-hour weeks. We were working a lot more, taking on projects that weren't necessarily in your scope, and all of that is showing the eagerness, the willingness, the team playing. And I've also found that sometimes the interview is just seeing, are we going to be compatible? Can I understand you a little bit more? So, you know, the willingness, the eagerness, and it's not just lip service. You've got to feel it and believe it, because if you think that that's what you're going to do, but you know honestly that you just want to do 9 to 5, then there are absolutely jobs in the real estate industry. Finance probably isn't one of them, because it takes a lot to build up, but then you will have developed networking, you will have the skills, you will ultimately get to where your goals are, what you want to achieve. And so that's balance in life. It's not only, oh, well, I had to work 60 or 80 hours this week and I don't have any balance. Well, you look at life as a whole. You know, okay, I worked hard, but boy, that means I have my kids now. I've got time for them. With the virtual working, everybody's comfortable with me at the office to know that, oh, she's got to go at 5, take care of the kids, and then boom, I can whip back on the computer and do what I need to do and still be part of the team. So, you know, you have to manage your expectations as well.
That's true. And expectations in that, when you're looking at companies and you're looking at opportunities, you know, it's a give and take situation in that company, your boss, it's a relationship where you're going to gain as much as they're going to gain, because that's education on the job, and there's great value to that. So you really have to be real about it. You have to be able to get along with your team, and you'll reap a lot of benefits that maybe that 50 hours seems long during that week, but what you get in return is on the job training.
And I would say in regards to the new employees and you know, having interviewees come in, I think that the positive attitude, I guess, you know, the willingness to partner is very important. It is also important that it is not just lip service, and I think you need to build your resume or build just your personal experiences to where if you were in college, if you did some internships or you volunteered for various organizations, if there is a track record that even though you may be starting out in a field, that you can still show some experiences that you did put yourself out there as a contributor, making positive contributions to just yourself in terms of doing internships, but then also to various student organizations.
Right, and some of those experiences, right, maybe we'd all agree, I know this has happened to me, you know, whether you get involved and you say, why am I doing this? And then you go, wow, this was really great, I should do this more. Or this goes into landing the biggest client of my career or a biggest growth area. Whether it's a project that, well, I don't think I really should be suited for this project. But that being said, you get on it and it's great,
Right.
and you've learned a million things, right?
Right.
Right. So that's part of the growth. We all have to
That's right.
grow. We have to continue to change and evolve, right? Regardless of the stage of our career.
And to that end, never be afraid to ask questions. I always say that. I still ask questions to this
Right.
day. I've been in real estate 25 years, but sometimes someone might use a different term for something, or never be afraid, because sometimes what someone's saying isn't really what they mean. So when you're asking them, they have a little
Right.
chance to be a little bit more clear, and then you're all on the same page.
I so agree with that comment in that you do need to ask questions. What drives me batty is when I have these trainees and these interns, and they'll move, you know, they'll waste an hour or 2 hours because they didn't ask a question, and so none of us are further down the line to achieving our goal or objective. So stop and ask. I'd rather be disturbed for, you know, 15 seconds than have to have gone back and redo an hour's worth of
Well, that
work.
productivity really is
right.
is wasted if nobody's marching in the same direction, right? So
Right.
teamwork is the underlying theme, right? Which we all know all the time. That's made all these teams great. Thank you, Walmart, for the opportunity for undertaking this video, and so much of your support for Crew and everything related to Crew. We tremendously appreciate your expertise, your commitment to everybody in the community and to the U.S. Thank you.